Have you ever sat alone in a room that used to be full of voices, laughter, footsteps, even a clatter of dishes in the kitchen, and suddenly realized just how quiet it's become? Not because the world stopped moving, but because the people who once filled your days with life have simply drifted away. Maybe your children have gotten busy. Maybe your phone rings less and less. Or maybe no one really asks how you're doing anymore. It's a quiet kind of pain, isn't it? Not loud or dramatic. Just the slow ache of feeling invisible in a life you helped build. And if you've ever caught yourself wondering, do they still see me? Then know this. You are not alone, and you are certainly not without power. Growing older should not mean growing smaller in the eyes of the people around us. In fact, with every passing year, you've gathered stories of strength, wisdom, and it's time to dust that off and stand tall again. In this video, we're going to walk through 6 powerful ways to reclaim your respect, your voice, and your sense of self-worth, even when it feels like your family or the world has forgotten you. Let's start right here with your presence. One of the most underestimated truths about this stage of life is that presence alone can be powerful. But not just physical presence. I mean the kind of presence that walks into a room and reminds people, I have lived, I have learned, and I matter. Too often, after 60, we start to shrink ourselves, thinking we're no longer the center of the family universe. We say less, we take up less space, we stop sharing our opinions. But here's something to remember. Silence doesn't bring respect. It brings erasure. So, step 1 is this: start speaking again. Not out of anger or bitterness, but with clarity and calm confidence. Share your thoughts in conversations. Speak your mind during family discussions. Don't wait to be asked what you think, offer it. Your voice is not only valid, it's needed. If your adult children are making life choices that affect you, like caregiving decisions, living arrangements, or even financial matters, you have every right to express how those choices make you feel. Respect isn't something that just appears. It's something that's reinforced through action. And reclaiming your voice is one of the strongest actions you can take. Now, along with reclaiming your voice, the second shift happens in how you spend your time. You see, the danger of feeling forgotten is that it tempts us into waiting. Waiting for a phone call, waiting for a visit, waiting for someone to remember us. But here's a beautiful truth. Your life doesn't pause just because others are too distracted to notice it. So, ask yourself, what lights you up? What small joys or old passions have you been putting off? Is it painting, gardening, singing in a community choir, volunteering at the local hospital or school? These things may sound simple, but when you engage in life on your own terms, you stop feeling like a character in someone else's story and start becoming the author of your own again. When your family sees that you are thriving, not just surviving, they begin to remember your strength. You become someone they want to check in with, not out of pity, but out of admiration. That shift in dynamic is powerful. You become the rooted oak tree, not the forgotten leaf. Let me share something that might surprise you. Dignity isn't always about how people treat you. Sometimes it's about how you treat yourself when no one's watching. You don't need permission to build a life that makes you proud. And yes, the sadness of feeling left behind is real, but it doesn't get to define you. So whether it means joining a book club, learning something new online, or simply dressing in a way that makes you feel sharp and confident again, do it for you. Because the world and your family tends to respond to the energy you carry. Show up for yourself, and others will begin to show up too. Let's keep going. There's another powerful shift that can happen when we look closely at how we let others define our roles. Because one of the quiet traps we often fall into after 60 is allowing our identity to become stuck in old titles: mom, dad, grandma, retired engineer, widow. And while those roles are part of who you are, they're not all you are. You're still becoming. You're still growing. That's where our third powerful shift comes in: redefining your role. See, when we tie our value only to what we used to do for others, we start to fade when those responsibilities are no longer needed. The kids are grown, the house is quiet, the job is done, and suddenly we're left wondering, now what? But the beautiful thing about life after 60 is that it can be a second blooming, not a fading. Ask yourself, who do I want to be now? Not for anyone else, but for you. Maybe you want to be the wise neighbor who mentors young people. Maybe you want to become the late-blooming artist who picks up a brush at 70. Maybe you want to be the joyful traveler, the local activist, or the gentle soul who fosters rescue animals. When you step into a new identity that excites you, you send a message to yourself and to your family that you are still in motion. You are still vibrant. And that kind of energy commands both respect and attention. And let's be honest, sometimes the ache we feel doesn't come from what others do to us, but from what we don't do for ourselves. That brings us to the next powerful change, one that might take a little courage but holds deep reward: setting healthy boundaries. Now, I know, boundaries can be tricky, especially with family. We love them. We've sacrificed for them. We've forgiven more than we ever speak about. But love does not mean allowing disrespect. It doesn't mean tolerating neglect. And it certainly doesn't mean giving endlessly without feeling seen. Setting a boundary might mean gently saying, "I'd appreciate it if we had dinner together once a month. I miss you." Or, "If you're going to ask me for help, I'd like to be asked with kindness, not last-minute pressure." Or even, "I can't keep babysitting every day. I need some time for myself." These aren't selfish things to say. They are honest, healthy expressions of your humanity. You teach people how to treat you. And when you begin to honor your own time, energy, and feelings, others start to take notice. They may not always respond perfectly at first, especially if they're used to you always saying yes. But over time, standing firm in your worth will create the space for deeper, more respectful relationships. There's something else I want to say here, and it might be the most personal. Don't wait for an apology to start healing. So many of us carry quiet disappointments. A child who never said thank you. A sibling who pulled away. Grandchildren who seem distant. And yes, it hurts. But if you tie your dignity to someone else's apology, you'll stay in emotional limbo for far too long. Instead, begin the healing within. Write a letter you'll never send. Go on that trip you once delayed. Hang a new picture on your wall to remind yourself this chapter is still yours to write. Release the weight that isn't yours to carry anymore. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about freeing yourself from the prison of waiting for something that may never come. And you might be surprised, sometimes the moment you let go is the same moment others start to reach out again. Not always, but sometimes. And when they do, you'll be meeting them from a place of strength, not sadness. Everything we've talked about so far leads to something even deeper. Not just reclaiming how others see you, but reclaiming how you see yourself. That's where the final pieces fall into place. Because reclaiming your dignity isn't just about getting others to treat you better. It's about you remembering your own worth in your own eyes. That's where our final and perhaps most empowering step comes in, nurturing your independence. And I don't mean just doing your own laundry or paying your own bills, although those matter. I mean emotional independence, the kind that says, even if no one checks on me today, I am still whole. I am still enough. That might mean making a new routine just for you. Maybe you start walking every morning, not for your health, but because it clears your mind. Maybe you join a small book club, or volunteer once a week, or finally start that herb garden you've been thinking about for years. You begin to build a life that feels rich and full, even if it's quiet. A life that doesn't shrink just because someone else didn't show up the way you hoped. When others see you living fully, with or without their applause, they start to see your life differently. They may even be drawn to you again, not out of pity, but out of genuine admiration. But even if they don't come back, you won't be waiting by the window, because you'll already be too busy living. And here's something else I want you to hold on to. It's never too late to expand your circle. Sometimes, the pain of being forgotten by family can be softened by finding a new kind of family, the one we choose. A kind neighbor, a friend from church, a fellow walker at the park. Human connection doesn't always have to come from blood. It comes from warmth, from shared laughs, from someone remembering how you take your tea. Let people in slowly and safely, yes. But don't close the door completely just because the people you once loved deeply have drifted. That doesn't mean you're unlovable. It just means your next meaningful connection might come from somewhere unexpected. Keep your heart open, just enough for a little light to get in. Before we close, I want to remind you of something simple but powerful. You are still needed. You are still here. You still matter. It's okay to feel hurt sometimes. It's okay to miss the way things were. But it's also okay to rewrite your story, to become the version of yourself you always dreamed you could be. Peaceful, proud, full of quiet strength. So if you've been feeling forgotten lately, know this: you are not alone. Many of us have walked through that fog of loneliness and come out the other side stronger, clearer, more rooted in who we are. Start small. Speak kindly to yourself in the mirror. Take one walk. Say no once this week. Say yes to something new. Light a candle just for you. These little actions might seem small, but over time, they rebuild the foundation of your dignity, not just in the eyes of others, but in your own soul. And if this message touched something in you today, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your story in the comments, not just for me, but for someone else who may be reading and needs to know they're not the only one feeling this way. If you found this video helpful, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone you care about. Let's create a space where age isn't something we hide, it's something we honor. Because after 60, life doesn't stop. It deepens. And your best, most respected, most meaningful years, they might just be the ones you're living now. Here's to standing tall, loving deeper, and reclaiming your dignity, one beautiful day at a time.